Today on Monkey Life, Sha Ning rejects Gordon's advances and moves back to the nursery.
I think it was just too much for a sensitive individual to deal with.
A delicate operation for woolly monkey Diego.
It appears that one of his testes is much larger than the other one.
And bully boy Jestah throws his weight around at the Bachelors. Monkey World in Dorset is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet.
Good morning, you.
The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
This is going to be the first day that they've ever stepped outside, ever in their lifetime.
The park is home to more than 240 monkeys and apes. The aim is to give them as natural a life as possible. At the Orang nursery, something unusual is happening. Oshine is locked in a tussle with Jolie. This play fight is a major step forward for Oshine, who has taken a long time to settle in with Linga, Dinda and Jolie since arriving from South Africa. Her progress is largely due to her budding friendship with baby Silvestre, who was recently rehomed from a zoo in Spain. He's managed to bring out a softer side in the big orangutan. But today, there's about to be another upheaval in the nursery. The orangs are being joined by an old friend. Dinda's sister, Sha Ning, who has recently been living in Gordon's group, is going back to join them.
She has lived in there before, but she's never met Oshine and Silvestre. So this is the first hurdle to see if Sha Ning is just going to be very depressed and a downer about it, or it might be that Oshine takes an interest in Sha Ning.
8-year-old Sha Ning was moved out of the nursery when Oshine arrived because it was felt that she needed to graduate to an adult group of orangs. She'd been in the nursery since it was set up 6 years ago. But the move wasn't very successful. Sha Ning got on well with Xiao Kuai and her children, Jin and Kai. But she didn't like leader Gordon. As the dominant male, he did show an interest. But the feeling wasn't mutual, and Sha Ning kept her distance.
Sha Ning was quite frightened of Gordon, but really, it was because Gordon's too nice and soft himself that he didn't do what a fully grown, experienced adult male orangutan would do, which is grab hold of her and do what he wants to do. And that allowed Sha Ning to sort of be wary, have opinions, slap her hands, and try and issue threats to him to back off. Whereas if that were Tuan, it would have been all over and done with. Sha Ning's just a very delicate individual. In the wild, she would have been moving away, if not moved away from her mother, and had a male within her territory, and eventually they would have met up. Because we're in captivity, rather than slowly taking an interest in adult males, it happens overnight here when you move into an adult group. And I think it was just too much for a sensitive individual to deal with.
So the orangutan team have decided the best thing for Sha Ning is to move her back to her old stomping ground.
Everybody in the nursery will be very happy to have her there if she just relaxes and goes with the flow. So we'll just have to keep everything crossed and hope that Sha Ning is very happy to be back in a familiar place with some of the people that she knows and not with the adult orangutans.
At the park's hospital, the veterinary team are preparing to do a rather delicate operation. Primate care staff have noticed that 3-year-old Diego has got a swelling on one of his testicles.
He's a young male, and it appears that one of his testes is much larger than the other one and in a slightly wrong position. If the testis is retained inside him, it has a greater potential for turning into a tumour. Or it can cause pain in the groin because it's a physical lump in his groin, which is getting traumatized from time to time. Sometimes testes don't descend at the same time. So one can drop and then a while later another can drop, but I think the time has passed at which we'd expect that second one to have dropped fully.
The odd thing is that normally the inguinal testis is smaller rather than larger.
Oh, no.
And this is bigger and progressively bigger.
Woolly monkeys are prone to stress, so the team have to be careful when anaesthetising them. A member of the primate care staff who Diego knows has already given him an injection by hand to make him drowsy.
Before we do it, I'd just like to see how crashed he is.
Yeah.
John and the park's vet, Mike Nathan, head down to Diego's enclosure to check the sedative has worked. They don't like to keep any of the primates under anaesthetic longer than they have to. So, as soon as they're happy, they head back to the hospital. Once John has got Diego fully anaesthetised, vet nurse Penny shaves the area. It needs to be as sterile as possible to make sure Diego doesn't pick up an infection.
It's got bigger in relation to his body size, which is odd.
While Mike starts the procedure, John monitors Diego's breathing.
It's a hydrocele.
Developmental abnormality.
And it's just one of those things.
Oh, yeah.
So his testicle didn't drop and then it's surrounded with fluid.
A certain part of the anatomy of the whole testis is fluid-filled. It's
Yeah.
a cystic structure.
Okay. And you can't just drain the fluid and then the testy would drop. You have to remove the whole parcel.
The obvious thing to do is just to remove it. One testis would be perfectly fertile, perfectly male, sufficient testosterone. It's not going to.
And are we happy the other ones actually dropped?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be rather painful for Diego when he wakes up after the operation, so while Mike removes the testicle, John starts to administer pain relief.
Some of the anaesthetic actually provides analgesia, and he has plenty of analgesia when he's asleep. When he comes round, obviously he's going to be a bit sore. I don't think we'll persuade him to take many pills at this stage, so he has an injectable analgesic painkiller. It'll last him 24 hours.
It was a very good call to do it. I mean, the fact is that it was getting bigger in relation to his body size, and we were always going to take this out at some stage because they're more prone to becoming cancerous in older life. So, and that's gone fine.
It doesn't take the little woolly monkey long to wake up once they've reversed the effects of the anaesthetic.
He's banging
I
around.
think you should get him out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Prefer. He's perfectly fertile. He'll have as much testosterone as he wants. He just doesn't have an abnormal testis to cause problems. Things like that are great because they come in with a problem. The surgical solution to that is very simple, and they go out without the problem. It's just so much better than a long-standing skin problem or, you know, animal with a whole history of problems, etc. This is a very nice, neat thing. So in with the problem, out without it. Job done.
Sha Ning is about to be moved to the Orang nursery. The Orang team need to entice her into the tunnel to get her into a crate. But she has other ideas. They often have problems getting Sha Ning to go inside at night, so are not surprised by her stubbornness. Keeper Jarno decides to take drastic action.
Where is he? Sha Ning, come on then. Here, please, I'm begging you. Ning, follow me.
Animal director Jeremy Keeling has now joined them. Sha Ning's curiosity has got the better of her. She's come through the tunnel to see what all the fuss is about, but doesn't like the look of the crate.
It's like a game of chess.
But so far, this game of chess has ended in stalemate.
Jeremy tries his luck at persuading her in. Success.
She's in the box. Now we just need to move her across to the nursery.
As soon as she arrives at the nursery, she seems to recognise where she is.
Is she looking like she wants to go in?
You know, once she's in the box, which wasn't difficult, I think she was jolly pleased to be moving and she's happy.
In the playroom, Oshine is oblivious to what's going on outside. She has no idea there's about to be a new arrival. Sha Ning's sister Dinda is allowed out first to be reunited with her sibling. Closely followed by Linga, who is bosom buddies with Dinda. So far, so good, but the real challenge still lies ahead.
It's just the hurdle of Oshine, but that's quite a big hurdle. And there's little Silvestre in the mix. And you know Sha Ning likes babies. She's going to be drawn to Silvestre just as we all are. And it's whether or not Oshine takes exception to the fact that Sha Ning, a newcomer, starts taking an interest in effectively what's her baby.
At the Bachelor chimp enclosure, there's a bit of a fracas. Low-ranking Seamus is upset, but heavyweight Jestah is fed up with his squawking and decides to put a stop to it. Leader Butch intervenes to try to calm the situation. This is just a normal day for this all-male bunch. These chimps were put together because they didn't fit into any of the other groups at the park, and the absence of females means they can be pretty rowdy. In the wild, it's perfectly normal to have small groups of all-male chimps, and there's always a hierarchy. Butch has been at the park for more than 20 years.
Butch has really got the history in the group, and he is respected by the group, and obviously historically has benefited from backing of the two half-brothers, Jestah and Buxom.
Jestah and Buxom are Butch's henchmen and are never very far away from their leader.
Sorry to say it, but Jestah and Buxom are the bully boys, really, Jestah in particular. He doesn't have many redeeming features, and he really can give some of the lower-ranking boys a hard time.
Paco is another chimp who's near the top of the pecking order. He used to be in Paddy's group, but wasn't made welcome there.
Paco in the mix does create an interesting dynamic because, you know, he's a big male, he's really a force to be reckoned with, and although you see him doing these fantastic displays in the outside enclosure, he does actually command a lot of respect from the lower-ranking animals.
Chimpanzee politics are complex. It's not always obvious who will end up near the top.
Size does have an impact on who's dominant. You know, when you look out, it's typically the bigger animals that are dominant, but personality, of course, has a lot to do with it, how confident they are around feeding. Chimps in nature are greedy, so if you have the presence and the intimidation to get what you want when you want it, you're going to use that to your advantage.
Seamus came to the Bachelors from the chimp nursery, where he was used to getting his own way. Moving in with the boys was a bit of a culture shock for the cheeky chimp.
Seamus would stand out as a low-ranking animal in the Bachelor group. He's still got a fun-loving character and he still likes to have a nice time. So, you know, he does okay, but I definitely would class Seamus as down the bottom, really. Turkish Charlie also is very much a loner and really sort of almost exists on the periphery of the group.
Charlie, who used to have his own TV programme in Turkey until he was rescued, often gets a hard time from Buxom and Jestah.
It's rough play in the Bachelor group. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. We see nicks and scratches, but we don't see really serious injuries in this group, and I think that's actually quite significant. It's not all doom and gloom. They do have good times together, and they are a fun group, you know, and we can play on that and give them lots of activities so that they can, you know, burn off that energy in a positive way. Every chimpanzee you look at has a softer side, a playful side, and, you know, it must be pretty tiring to be intimidating all of the time.
Things are calmer at the Orang nursery, where Sha Ning is getting used to being back with her old friends. It's like she's never been apart from Linga and Dinda. But she still has to meet Oshine, and staff don't know how that will go. Oshine is very possessive of baby Silvestre, and may be worried Sha Ning will take him off her. Sha Ning is allowed into the back bedrooms where Oshine and Silvestre are already waiting. Introductions are done here because it's a smaller and more controllable area. Jarno tries to keep things calm. As always, baby Silvestre is keen to hold out a hand of friendship to Sha Ning.
The early signs are good because inside she's actually sitting alongside Oshine through a mesh panel, eating and so on, Silvestre and Oshine, and she looks all right with it.
But that could all change when they move to the playroom.
I expect that Sha Ning will be interested in Silvestre, and, you know, then will that bring out the green-eyed monster in Oshine? We'll all have to wait and see how this pans out, but we're all gonna play it as if it's just another day and open the slides go and see what happens.
Mischievous duo Linga and Dinda are no problem. They seem happy to have their old friend back. But staff aren't taking any chances with Oshine and Silvestre. Jeremy has decided to join them in the playroom to act as referee. Oshine is immediately on her guard, keeping a vice-like grip on Silvestre. Sha Ning enters the lion's den.
Good girl, hello.
Ning seems unfazed. As she gets closer, Oshine decides to take to the hoses too, but she's not letting go of her baby. Where she goes, he goes. But Sha Ning wisely avoids confrontation with the big orangutan and decides to take a breather outside. That's one up to Oshine.
Sha Ning obviously came in and Oshine saw her, and there wasn't any really horrible negative reaction. And the one thing I was worried about was Sha Ning coming in here and camping in here and never moving again. Well, obviously that didn't happen because she came in and then went out again. So now Sha Ning's disappeared into the tunnel system somewhere, and that's fine. Everybody's happy, so I'm going to fade away now.
Sha Ning has found a quiet spot in the tunnel. Oshine guesses that Sha Ning will be getting treats outside and doesn't want to miss out.
Oshine's followed her in there, and they're sitting, well, really next to each other now, and they're both really happy, and they're at the moment just, you know, spending some time together and chilling.
At Lavar's Woolly Monkey house, primate care staff are putting out treats for the group to welcome back young Diego. The little woolly's recuperating after an operation to remove one of his testicles.
When he was recovering from his anaesthetic, we watched him constantly just to make sure he was okay. But now he's completely back to normal, except for the fact there's something interesting on his tummy. We're just trying to make sure we keep him super busy so that he doesn't start to play with his stitches, and all of the other interested group members away from it too. So we're doing lots of things like giving them extra scatter feeds of fun stuff like insects or seeds and berries that are seasonal that they haven't had for a while, just to try and keep them nice and distracted so nobody's too interested in his new scar.
The group are delighted to be having special treatment. And the procedure certainly hasn't put Diego off his food. His stitches don't seem to be bothering him at all as he stretches out to grab the fruit below. Diego's dad Lavar doesn't seem curious about his son's scar at first, but his mum Kuna can't resist getting a closer look.
Well, this group of woolly monkeys is a really tight-knit group. They're based on family, so they're really interested in each other, and they groom each other all the time to make sure they're all nice and clean, and any injuries they have, they'd obviously take a huge interest in to make sure they're okay. this isn't so much an injury, but perhaps to a woolly it looks like one. But they're all focused on it, trying to clean it, give it a prod, make sure they know what it is. And that's fine, as long as they don't open the stitches. So we're happy for them to have a bit of a look and be interested, but not to start picking at things.
Fortunately, they soon lose interest in the stitches and turn their attention back to their stomachs. The only problem Diego seems to have is a thorn in his foot from one of the blackberry brambles.
I'm really relieved now that the whole procedure's over. We know Diego's okay. We've all seen that he's nice and healthy, and we know that the operation was straightforward. So we're all really relieved that we've finally bitten the bullet and done it, and hopefully he'll be a much happier, healthier monkey for it.